show people basic tips and tricks for Shadow of War. More meant for people who maybe have never played Shadow of War before, maybe people who have played Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and haven't started this one yet. It does have some differences. There's obviously similarities, but there's a few things that are different, so I'm just going to go through a bunch of them. These things will make, in my opinion, the game easier and possibly a bit more fun. If you're looking for more of a challenge, then maybe don't do some of these things. First one I'm going to look at is in the skills category. So you'd go to your character, and I've already finished this game actually, so that's why you see all these lit up. So, in my opinion, when you're starting the game, the most important one skill to get is called Fatal Counter. This didn't exist in Shadow of Mordor, so it does a couple things. One, it's only applicable to enemy grunts, so just the, run-of-the-mill guys that are going to come after you. So when you see there's a symbol above, it helps you time your counter. So when you hit that button, when you get the counter correct, this will actually instantly kill the grunts. So it does a couple things. It automatically eliminates one of them, and it prevents you from constantly button mashing. The only thing with this skill is that you're not eligible to get it until you get Talion up to level 15. So here in combat, for your execution, you have to get this first before you are able to get anything to do with your perfect counter at all anyway, because this is the parent skill that comes first, and I don't think you're able to obtain perfect counter until you get the other one. I could be wrong on that because obviously I can't really see if it has a prerequisite, but I'm pretty sure you have to get the other one first. But just to give you an example, you can kind of see in the video there, but see if I can find an enemy. Yeah, here's somebody. See if one of these guys comes after me. And they're all my guys. I've already possessed them all. Okay, these guys in red are enemies. We got some guys up here. There's a whole bunch here. Okay, here we go.
What was that noise? Put your entire body in. There he is!
So watch this symbol. When it glows blue, if I press my triangle, so on PS4, you time it correctly, you'll just kill the guy instantly. Let's go grab these guys. So I can just stand right in the middle of all of them.
Die! Now you die! Die! Feel this!
Yeah, see, they're all dead, just like that. If you don't have that skill, it's a button mashing nightmare to kill all those guys. Now, there are different enemies that will come at you. Guys where you have to press A or whichever is on your controller, X, whatever, to defend. So in those cases, the fatal counter doesn't work on those particular guys, but it will work on those grunts that you did see there. So next up, we're going to look at under inventory. So this is where you get your new swords, bows, and daggers, and then as well you get your armor. So what you want to do is when you kill a captain, they drop one of these. So usually when that happens, if you look at this menu, you'll see inventory with a white circle next to it, just like you would here with Garrison. So you can go in, and then you'll see a white circle beside whichever. There could be multiple if you haven't checked in a little bit, besides one of these. So for example, if I go into my sword, these are different swords that I've earned. So what you want to do is go in here and take a look and compare. Oh, I've got an upgrade too. Cool. So I'll do that. Nice. So you want to. So the one I have right now is level 65, which is this one up top. So if I'm looking at, say for example, the one below 62 level, I can compare them. Now sometimes I've actually went with something that's a lower level because of all the different bonuses that you get with it. So with the 62, after a brutal execution, melee attacks inflict curse for 10 seconds. Critical hits have a 50% chance to freeze enemies. So I look at those things as well, and then if I really like those bonuses, then I might actually go for the item that has the slightly lower level. If it's 10 lower or 15 lower, no. But if this is only a difference of 3. In this case, I'm probably just going to keep the 65. But it's something to consider. But yeah, make sure that you're checking when you do kill captains, especially in the very beginning of the game, because it makes a big difference with your upgrades. Because you start with all of these at level 1, pretty much. So you want to upgrade them every single chance you get. Speaking of which, you've got your gems. So these, similar to Shadow of Mordor, you can add them to your weapon for, extra damage or whichever. The red, blue, or red, green, and white do different things. So for example, I have red on this weapon because I really want to increase the damage. If I used green, I'd increase the health stolen, and if I used white, then I increase the chance that they're going to drop Mirren or whatever my money is. So I would say when you're starting, any weapons that you're like these 3 that you're using most often, try to use red to try to increase the damage. And then for something like your ring, I use white. This is different, but it lets captains gain 5 levels when I recruit them. But so the rune only gives you those options. So you can pick between gain 5 levels, that comes way later in the game, 30% less damage to followers. This is the max one. The percentages go down as you go further to the left. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, so it's more so the actual direct armor that you want to look at. Which is, yeah, that's I have green on that. So this actually increases health. So the highest level one increases your max health by 30%, and then it goes down from there. And you need basically 3 in each category to be able to combine them and then move to the next one over. So it takes quite a few to actually get the max. Even after finishing the game, these two are not even maxed out. So I would do green for these two, because both of them increase your health. So weapons, red for damage, and armor, green for health. Then I'd be looking at so your map. I don't really have a lot left here because I've pretty much killed everybody. Oh, that's the DLC. So your map, you're always going to have your fortresses in different areas. So this one I've already overtaken. Okay, so it just talks about who's the overlord. But before you overtake them, if you highlight them, it'll actually show you a number representing the total number of levels of all the different, war chiefs and the overlord. So when you're looking through, I'm gonna hold my L2 here to show you the world map. So at one point in the game, after you finish your first area, 3 more areas open up all at once. And my first time playing Shadow of War, I somehow decided or chose to go to the most difficult of the 3 areas. So it was weird because I'm sitting there trying to beat captains that are 15 levels above me. And then when I finished that and took over the fortress, I went back to another level that I hadn't visited yet, and all these guys were level 20, and I was at level 35 by then. So I felt it was a bit odd, just because I probably challenged myself too much by going to the quote-unquote wrong level, and I probably should have paid more attention to the fortress level. So when you look at the world map, when those 3 levels open up all at the same time, I'm replaying this on PC now, so I'm doing it and playing it a little bit differently. When I actually looked at the levels, because it will show them before you defeat them, I picked the one to go to that had the lowest number, which means that it's going to be closest to my my skill level at the time. So I'm not going to go through too much of that because I don't want to spoil anything. Captain Intel is another thing. So if you go into your army, So for example, this guy here, I'm gonna push R3. If you've got intel, basically you grab a grunt and dominate him or whatever, and you can pick somebody to show their intel. So when if you're new to the franchise or just need a reminder, you really want to look at their weaknesses. So soft-headed becomes dazed when shot in the head. So this one, you really want to get from a distance and charge your arrows and shoot them in the head. It'll cause a lot of damage. See damage by range attacks, execution, fire. If you want to make it difficult for yourself, don't do those things and just come at them head on and try to sword fight them or something. And that's another thing too. For example, if you know this captain is damaged by arrows, ranged attacks, you might even want to go back in, depending on what you've earned, into your inventory. If you have a bunch of different bows, maybe find one that causes the most damage or that has the most amount of arrows. Like this one has 12, this other one has 15, but you can see it causes less damage. So you want to compare those. You could even cater what weapons you carry to whichever captain you're going to end up facing. The other thing that you can do with these, as you can see earlier, is I upgraded one of mine. So some of them will have a challenge, like this one here. Well, both of them actually. The one on the left, unlock challenge. Use a ranged weapon to kill a poisoned enemy. So if I complete that, then I'll get, the square, and I can do my upgrade, and it'll bump up my ranged attack level higher, and it might even bump up the capacity from 12 to, say, 13 or 14. And maybe even the level. The other thing to do, too, if you played the first game, to remember, is, and you won't get this ability till later on, but is to brand or dominate, and you want to do that as much as possible, especially if you can in big groups of enemies. Sometimes they even fight the battle for you if you want to make it easier for yourself. Okay, so I don't know if I can show this or not. So I can't, but so if I had, because these, okay, if I push in L3, it shows all my levels for all these guys, which when you're in the middle of dominating or branding the entire army, I like to have that just so it's a little bit easier to see and see all the different levels each one is at. The other thing you can do to get better weapons from captains is, let's say I had some guys that were in red that were my enemies. If I were to command, or if I interrogated a grunt and I came into here, I could actually send a death threat to one of my enemies, and what that does is it allows him to drop, if I kill him, it allows him to drop a higher quality, like either a sword, a bow, or a dagger, which means that I get a better upgrade. So I try to do that whenever possible. For example, if you run out of the intel for all of your enemies, and you run into another worm, and you interrogate him, and you come in here, and you realize, well, I don't have anybody to use it on. If you can still use it on one of your enemies and issue a death threat. That also has to be unlocked through the character menu as well. So it's just something to keep in mind. I think it's... exactly where it is, but yeah, it's one of the skills I think that you have to unlock anyway, though. Map-wise, so of course once you've unlocked all the fast travel points, you can get from point A to point B pretty quick, but there's still areas where there's a lot of running that you might have to do. So one thing that really speeds that up is if you have the ability unlocked, you can dominate a Caragor and ride the Caragor. It actually significantly cuts down the time. I use it quite a bit. So I've got one even right here. So if I dominate this guy, even because with my...
Why would you bring such a helpless animal to its death? You're cruel, you are!
I'll snap your face to the slaughter!
Die, Tark!
He's not so bad!
How'd you like that?
I'll kill you!
Too powerful to recruit. Alright, let's
Waste of my time.
There's my Caragor. There he is. Okay, before I was so rudely interrupted. Now, if I run, this is my speed here, or walking. And even if that's as fast as I can run, but that'll even run out. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Did they kill him? They did. Oh, that wasn't very nice. Now I think too that if you have two of these grunts coming at you at the same time, and they both have the symbol above them, I missed that one. The fatal counter. I think if you could hit it twice, and your Wraith will take care of the other one. I can't believe they killed my character. Stop interfering with me. Okay. So as you can see, this is way faster. And if I need to climb anything, it's also a lot quicker. So you can actually traverse quite a good amount of space using this form of travel, if you want to call it that, as opposed to just running yourself. Okay, so the other thing I'll show here is in the army, in the early going, when you first start dominating captains, you can actually assign one as a bodyguard. See, here it says make my bodyguard. So I could do that. I would suggest if you want to have help in the early going, that you definitely assign a bodyguard. And then the other thing you can do, so let's say Nakra the Red, I make my bodyguard for argument's sake. He's only level 33, so it'd be an extremely poor choice. So let me say Baruch. Let me say it's him. He's my bodyguard, number 64, or level 64. The other thing you can do, if you have access to it, or when you get access to it, is you can actually go in here and increase that bodyguard's level, as provided it's not going to be more than yours. You can give him a Caragor mount, depending on how much money you have to spend. You can increase the damage that he inflicts. I like to give them fire abilities. You can also give them a gang, so he has followers. So he could be an Olag gang, Savage gang, Defender gang, Hunters, or Archers. So that's another good idea. So basically, you get into this battle, you're losing health, you need help, you call him, and so you bring this leveled up captain, who's probably better than whichever captain you're facing, and then he also brings a gang with him as well. As far as the story goes, I don't have too many on here, but here's the legend. Okay. So, on the left, you see all the different missions. So there's your quests, your nemesis, rescues, so on and so forth. The quests are really the story missions. So if you see them on here in that shape, then you'll know that that's the one to go to further the story. So it's easy to get caught up in just grinding and, exploring the open world and killing captains and leveling up, and that's all great. But if you actually wanted to do quests and experience the story, then that's how you would get to them, is by those symbols on the map. Either way, if I press L1, it brings me to my quest menus, and then you get to see all the different quests. So for example, my Gondor quests, I've completed them all. But if I wanted to go directly to a specific quest that was available at the bottom, I can actually fast travel to that region, wherever that may reside. So even if it's a different region than you're currently in, you can just press fast travel and away you go. So it's a quick way to get to it. There's different quests for different characters and areas. So there's Gondor quests, the Shelob quests, Eltariel, Karnan, Bruise. Then of course you got your sieges. So I think that pretty much most of the basics. At least those are the things that really would have helped when I started. The other thing too is, let's say, for example, this region I hadn't conquered yet. One of the things I can do is get up on these silos, and if I could, I would dominate the archers, or at least take them out. You'd be surprised, the archers, even though they're not super threatening and deadly, if you're down on the ground and you're trying to fight a captain, and you've got some archer, or a couple of them, shooting arrows at you, they interrupt whatever attack you're doing towards your enemy, and they cause you damage. So it's a good idea to take them out ahead of time. I'm gonna see maybe if I can level up a bit more. But anyway, that'll wrap it up for now. Hopefully that helps. Those are the things that I say would have really helped me, or that I noticed after playing through the whole game. He seems friendly. Alright. Wave goodbye. It's like a really sick Hulk. Anyway, that'll do it for now.